I was killing it. I'm booking this and this, but I'm like, I don't think I'm very good though. Or I know I could be a lot better. And especially as a Black woman, I don't want to do anything half-ass.
In 1995, a 22-year-old actor in Los Angeles, California, had an idea. Gabrielle Union committed to matching her ambition with her investment in her craft, and her career exploded. In the years since, she's nurtured an exponential growth trajectory, both acting in and producing hit movies and shows, writing best-selling memoirs, as well as building out a diverse portfolio of product brands, all on top of being a mother and an equity advocate for the Black and LGBTQ communities. And it all started with one idea.
How did your parents' professional lives inform your career aspirations?
They didn't really. Both of my parents were in telecommunications. My mom at Pacific Bell, my dad at AT&T, and none of that looked sexy. So I just knew that they worked their asses off. And so I developed my work ethic from them. It never occurred to me that I shouldn't be working at all times. But in terms of like the direction, no, that's just good old-fashioned low self-esteem and wanting to be chosen. And it started with those model searches that they would have at the mall. And every time I would go and never get chosen. And then finally, I was trying on prom dresses at Trudy's dress shop in Campbell near San Jose. And I was discovered. And they're like, would you like to be in our prom commercial? I was like, it's set. And it went from that to I got an internship at a modeling agency for college credits. And when that internship ended, they were like, would you ever consider modeling? And I was like, what? And I felt the call again. I was like, you think somebody might pick me? And so I went for it. And my parents were like, what was UCLA about? Like, why did we take out a second mortgage on the home if you just want to be in a Tupac video? And they were like, listen, do whatever you want, but don't ask us for any money. And that first year, I made more than my parents.
What did you go to UCLA for? What was the original plan A?
The plan was to be a very average lawyer, I guess. I was an English major at UCLA, and I got my first B-. I've never gotten anything lower than a B+ in my life. I chose what I thought was an even easier major, sociology, just studying people. I like people. How hard could this be? Graduated with a degree in sociology and was studying for the LSATs, doing poorly when I got that internship. So I was like, okay, well, let me just see how this goes. Worst case, I go back.
Well, so given that and, your parents' sort of career trajectory, where was the inspiration and also the confidence to step out on this ledge and pursue a public-facing career in the arts coming from?
Low self-esteem. And somebody saying, you're so pretty. So now you're hooked. It's like heroin. I'm chasing the dragon. And if you think I could do it, then I should do it. Because you said I was pretty. You said I could do this and people might like me and people might think I'm like a star. I'm doing this. I'm absolutely going to be a model. I don't know. I had no idea that being a model in LA is very different than being a model in New York or Paris or Milan. My first gigs were Teen, Sassy, and All About You. And it was all under the same ownership. And they would hire one Black model every 3 months. And I just would rotate throughout the 3 magazines. And it was like, I broke up with my boyfriend, now what? And it'd be a picture of me like, and I would make $120 a day. And I was like, I'm rich. And I was like, I'm gonna see where this goes. Cause what if more people choose me? It like made me feel like I was worthy of existence, which is so weird to hear myself say it, but it's true.
And where did the ambition to take that next step from that into acting come from?
The same week that, because I didn't have a book, I didn't have anything, I didn't have a resume, they just took pictures in the agency and sent me off to my first go-see with just that. And I came back with a job for 3 months. And they were like, okay, that was fast. Let's make up a fake resume and let's just send you in for an audition and see what happens. Let's just see what the feedback is. And my first audition was Saved by the Bell, the new class. And the role was Mistletoe Girl number 2. And I've always had a photographic memory. And I had taken an oral interpretation of literature class. Those 2 things worked in my favor. I was an adult who could play a child who looked like a 15-year-old. And I just booked my first audition. I was like, this is easy. And so with every job that I booked, I took a fake thing off and I just kept booking things. And I was like, well, maybe should I take an acting class? They're like, nah, it's fine. Whatever you're doing is working. And I just kept going. My biggest early supporter probably would have been Aaron Spelling, in the sense that he was the first person to pay me. He set my quote when I wasn't making much of anything. And in setting that quote so high, I never went below that.
At what point did you step back and think like, okay, I am succeeding in this, but this is an art in and of itself. And when did you sort of start applying that lens to your own performance and work?
I had booked this gig on ER. I got this role and I was an athlete that had too much on her shoulders, and her parents were sort of living through her, and she fakes an injury to get out of playing sports. The way it was written is that she gets like kind of misty. So I played it misty. It didn't say cry. And then Anthony Edwards was directing the episode, and he's like, yeah, we got that. Now this time, I know you're holding back. Just let it go. Just let it go. And then they do that like actor-director thing and holds eye contact as he backs away, kind of encouraging me gently to just let it through you. Let what through me? And I'm like, I have nothing. So I'm scrambling because I have no technique. I'm just memorizing words and adding a little personality. I'm not acting. I don't even know what that really is, right? But at this point, the rubber has hit the road. And this huge show with this huge actor, they're gonna figure it out. And I'm panicking. And take after take, I'm thinking of like my grandma's funeral. I'm thinking of dead puppies. Like, I'm thinking of anything like that should make me cry. Nothing. And then finally I hear him yell, bring in the menthol. And I knew enough at that point that that's like, this fucking loser can't, like, she's a hack. And so they came in and they blew the menthol in my eyes, and that's how they got me to cry. And I was like, I don't want to be this person. And I got an acting coach. And I learned what the hell I was doing. And it made me want to do more than what I had been, even though I was considered like I was killing it. I'm booking this and this, but I'm like, I don't think I'm very good though. Or I know I could be a lot better. And especially as a Black woman, I don't want to do anything half-ass. Professionally, I have failed so many times. I fail every day. Yeah, if you're not failing, you're not really trying hard enough. I mean, failure is just like salt. It's just a part of the seasoning of my career.
As someone who knows nothing about acting, except that I imagine it is a very emotionally fraught and challenging intellectual problem to solve, to get into character, like, how did you approach learning that process and, upping your game?
With complete humility. You have to start at day one, page one. Nothing is too small for me to absorb or learn or understand. Talk to me like I'm a child. I've been working with Lee Kilton Smith for 20 plus years. And she's like, she's abroad and she's my kind of girl. And so she hits me right between the eyes and she just tells me like it is. And she's like, okay, you've been skating by, but now I want you to thrive on your own. Everything has to be in service of the character and the truth, whatever that truth is. And that was interesting because it opened me up in an emotional way that I have never been ready for, that I still struggle with, to be emotionally vulnerable in public and it not feel like humiliation. So when I'm getting a note, I feel like somebody is mining my soul or all of my insecurities. When it's like, no, I'm speaking as an actor, I'm speaking to my, actor, and this is what we need from the character. This is what we need from the character to service the story. How do I process criticism? It depends on the person I'm getting the criticism from. If you are someone that I respect, that I know you are looking out for my best interest, I take it for exactly what it is, and I try to see what you see. If you're somebody who, you think criticizing is the same as insulting, I don't call that criticism. I don't even receive it. I'm not open to that.
Bring It On, a film that you did some years ago that has achieved a level of cult status. It's damn near Rocky Horror Picture Show levels. When you were reading that script, when you were shooting that film, did you have any sense of even like, oh, this is definitely gonna be a success, or much less, in 20 years, people are still gonna be dressing like this every Halloween?
No. That Bring It On was a movie we all did, or some of us did, because we didn't get other movies. The movies we really thought were gonna propel us to through the stratosphere. And I remember Kirsten had really wanted Save the Last Dance, and they're like, not this blonde, we're going with Julia. So we were all like, I guess, summer in San Diego, gonna have a good time. And we just had a fucking ball. We were like wild animals. Usually the ones that are really fun, they're duds, like nobody watches. And that was one of the first ones that was so much fun that it matched, the reaction matched. But what was interesting is the Clovers were only in like a third of the movie. And when they started showing it to test audiences, the Clovers tested through the roof. And they're like, we need more with the Clovers, but we can't add it to the movie. We're gonna shoot scenes, fake scenes, that will only be in the trailer to create the illusion that it was like a 50-50 movie.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but what's interesting is the people spoke. When the people spoke, they were like, okay, like we gotta deliver on, at least fake deliver. And the rest was kind of history. And it's wild to me. I think it's just what the movie represents, and like badass young Black girls who refuse to take shit and never back down. Like, it still appeals to me to this day.
Committing to the hard work of acting, and with a generation-defining hit under her belt, Gabrielle embarked on a career that would see her embracing a variety of roles and solidifying her place as the people's champ. She would also meet her future husband and fellow Renaissance human, Dwayne Wade, and begin crafting a personal brand. But the persistent racism and sexism in Hollywood would present ongoing challenges, even as her professional and personal lives continued to thrive.
You mentioned, at the outset of your career with modeling work, that sort of like 100% of the motivation was being chosen and that affirmation. As you think about your career, what were sort of some of those early inflection moments where you had a conscious moment of like, oh, the thing that's making me want to do this is changing?
Something the Lord made with Yassine Bey. He likes to poke the bear, and I like to poke the bear. And we would just kind of poke each other to challenge each other to step up and step up and step up and question more. And it was in the questioning amongst greatness that I was like, this feels fucking great. I feel like I did something here. And I love the feel of knowing I delivered in a scene and having these extremely talented, successful people be like, my ideas come from my imagination. Some come from being inspired by people I come across, asking people about their lives, and just being inquisitive about life.
Tell me what it was like working with DMX.
So we're doing an action, movie with Jet Li, and I'm a dog person. And he had a lot of dogs on set that were a little unruly. And by unruly, perhaps they were biting people. And we lost a lot of PAs. But after a while, they were like, can you go get him? Like, for anything. I'd have to go get him. If I wanted to, go home at some point, they're like, you gotta go get X to bring him into work. But if you went into the trailer, he'd give you a Heineken and be like, you gonna drink? Come on, get it. I know you drink that cheap shit, but you gotta have this Heineken with me. So we'd be in there throwing back Heinekens, and he'd put on Golden Girls. And the first time I was like, didn't see this coming. And he had like whole theories about Golden Girls. He had theories about all kinds of things that you would never think he would even be aware of, much less have deep feelings about. But he was just very, very cool. And he treated me like a little sister. And he'd let me know he wasn't coming into work that day, but he wouldn't let anyone else know. So, we all had to come in at 6 a.m. and Jet, like if it says 7 a.m., your call time, that's when you go to hair and makeup. Jet always, no matter what, he would be on his mark at 7 a.m. There was this day where we're waiting. We've all been waiting all day long. Poor Jet on his mark since 7 a.m. It's probably now like 3. And I think since like 10 a.m., they were like, he's on his way, he's 10 minutes away, 20 minutes away. Okay, now it's 4. Okay, they're like, is he coming? So me and Anthony Anderson, like I was on one side of a double banger and Anthony was on the other side. And we're both watching TV. And you know who's on MTV? Live on TRL? DMX. And so we come out of our trailer, we're like, okay, not only is he not 10, 20 minutes away, he's in New York live on TRL. He's not coming. And he proceeded to not come to work for I felt like it was maybe a week. And when he finally got back, he was like, you have a good vacation? And I was like, motherfucker.
I'm curious, at what point did you develop that first sense of security and that the work is coming and as long as I keep knocking it out, there's gonna be more, and there isn't this sort of sense of the rug is could still be pulled out?
I struggle with that still, just because I think I just have more responsibilities, for my money. So I get nervous, like, oh God, that movie didn't open, well, what does that mean? Am I gonna have enough to hold everybody up? And everyone's like, it's coming, like, calm down. And I'm trying to find peace in the journey, not using my anxiety and scarcity mindset to be my engine, which is hard. It's weird to say I'm head of household because in this household, we split everything 50-50. But in the other households that each of us have to support, it puts there's always this like gorilla on your back that it is like, you better work, bitch. You better work. Bitch, you better work. You gonna sleep in? Somebody might not eat. Come on, you gotta work. And it's hard. It's hard to let that go. So I'm working on that.
At what point did you realize that beyond being a working actor who is booking consistently, you are a brand?
I think my first big endorsement opportunity was Neutrogena. Every year they kept renewing my contract, and I just started taking it for granted. Like, I am this. And then they were like, and that's enough for you. meet Kerry Washington. And I was like, oh, whoa. And by then it was like, the talk was brands, brands, brands. So what does that mean if I've lost my brand? What happens now when you've been replaced? Do you have a brand? Am I worthless? And it was kind of like initially like a fake it till you make it. Like, this is my brand. And I would say, like, just repeat what other people would say. And initially it was just different checks. They didn't need to really be in alignment. My morals didn't have to not be compromised. And it's probably been in the last few years where I am very strategic brand-wise. I always want to be true to who I am and where I come from, and that my whole brand should be about centering the most marginalized of the marginalized and making whatever it is that I'm selling accessible. I feel uncomfortable like thinking of my brand as aspirational. It's like, no, I want you to feel worthy of it today, not if I get enough money then. And once I understood that innately, and then I started making decisions, kind of like centering that, I was like, oh shit, now it feels good. Success for me today is peace of mind, being able to sleep at night, paying it forward. That's success.
As someone who ascended from, smaller parts to leading roles in the years leading up to the advent of social media, how did one navigate the internal industry marketing of oneself to get roles before there were like algorithms and metrics and all these things, and then also how has that changed since the advent of Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, et cetera, et cetera?
I think even now, from then to now, from late 95 to 2023, I've never been anybody's first choice. Not Black folks, not white folks. But by hook or by crook, I get a job, right? And then that movie does really well. And what they tell you is if you're a part of a movie and your character pops, then that leads to the next thing. But I really realized after Bad Boys 2 and Bring It On that how I am received by real life people is not reflected how I'm treated in Hollywood. They're completely different. But before social media, I had no way of really knowing that or quantifying that. So, because they tell you, if you succeed, then these are the roles that open up. So I'm succeeding, and the door is bolted shut. And the people who are jumping the line seem to be folks that make white people in charge very comfortable. But what it did, like the social media era, me, Taraji, Nia, Sanaa, Tracy, it allowed our real world popularity to be quantified to where it was undeniable. I think my biggest advantage is that I'm not afraid to center Blackness. For so long in my career, there was this need to not just decenter Blackness, like barely have it on the edge of frame. Even when sometimes we tell our own stories, we center Blackness as something that needs to be explained to white people, which then kind of defeats the purpose of telling Black stories. So when I started to center Blackness in everything I do and not in an explanatory way, I felt free. And my stories had more texture and more flavor and more nuance. And the more I could put into that, the better the reception.
In the last decade, Hollywood has been roiled amid political controversy and scandal with, obviously, first the Oscar So White and then Me Too. I'm curious, from your vantage, how much have those movements actually inspired systemic changes and how much of it is pageantry and performance?
It's probably about 50-50. So structural change that came out of Me Too, for example, intimacy coordinators. To say in the wild, wild west of Hollywood, about 3 years ago, relatively recently, there wasn't, generally speaking, a lot of discussion nor consent asked of as you're doing sex scenes. So you could negotiate top of ass, side boob, no nipple, no crack. Like you could, negotiate that. And then you get on set and nobody gives a shit. And you're just out there. And then you're like, if I say something, will I lose my job? Or am I now difficult? So one of the biggest things I think that is nobody like fucks around with it. Like you respect it. So that's something that I can say is like structural. All those things that were supposed to be structural, like a lot of it was just, black squares on Juneteenth. And that was enough. You take something like an awards campaign. What are you actually campaigning for? If you can campaign, is it really about the performance? Or is it about something else? Like, what am I campaigning for people to do exactly? And they're like, yeah, but you got to get people, there's a lot of, you got to cut, help them cut through the clutter and then feel good about voting for you. Feel good about voting for me? What does that mean? Oh, right. The majority still of voters are older white gentlemen. And even if they love your performance, you have to get to that place of, in the privacy of their own home, when they don't have to tell anybody what they actually did, are they comfortable voting for you? And that, for some, can be a Herculean task that requires a campaign. I think there's so much about Hollywood that is bullshit. And you can either sign up for it and like swim in it, and you can have an amazing life swimming in the bullshit, and then you wonder why you can't sleep at night. Because you're shitty. I choose to center my peace and my self-worth now, and I'm gonna create things and do things my way.
With her status as one of Hollywood's most beloved celebrities solidified, Gabrielle would increasingly begin to leverage her fame for advocacy. Through a number of books, her beauty and health brands Proudly, Flawless, and Bitsies, and through her choices both in front of and behind the camera. Nearly 30 years in, Gabrielle continues to layer new meaning and new depth to her career with each creative decision that she makes.
Tell me about the off-screen development of your brand and your, this life as an entrepreneur that you have running concurrently with your sort of core pursuit.
My entrepreneurship has to be in alignment with my soul. Me creating business is really about creating more opportunity. It cannot be about my bottom line. So when people come to me and the crux of what they're trying to sell me on is all fiscal, I'm like, I don't care about that. What I care about is, like, take Bitsies, for example. We have to figure out how to lower the price, create a flavor profile for the communities that desperately need these products. We need to put them in stores that are actually in marginalized communities. And if I have to take less or sacrifice my share, I'm okay with that. And they're like, why? I'm like, because I need to sleep at night, and that's not, my engine isn't how do I line my pockets off of the needs of my own community. And I learned that lesson from the first time I launched Flawless with the wrong partners. It was offensive, and we were very successful. And I was like, I don't want to succeed that way. So we relaunched, nothing's over $10. I don't want people to break the bank because they want to twist out. I think you're actually an asshole to do that.
What are the qualities about yourself that you hold on to most fiercely?
I think my benevolence, I don't ever want to lose that. I don't want to lose my fucking scruples. I don't want to lose my good home training, that I'm nothing without my community. I'm nothing without my family. And when I rise, we all rise.
What was the transition like, and how did it reframe your thinking to go from being an actor, part of the proletariat, to then being a producer and becoming part of management? How did that change how you thought about the process, and also how you thought about perhaps some of your own issues that you've had on the other side of things?
Being able to control the means and experience of a production, I don't like doing any job without having that power. If I have to be at someone's mercy for how they respect my time or anybody else's time, no thank you. So from jump, I was like, we're not wasting anybody's time. We're all going to be efficient. You can make art efficiently. You can make art respectfully. And you don't have to be exploitive. You don't have to be abusive. You don't have to dog people out. But I learned that from this experience on Delivers from Eva with LL. You know, both of us have little egos. We were having like some kind of debate back and forth, right? And they kept calling for us to come to set. And I wanted to make my point. And I wanted him to concede, you know, like, no, okay, you're right. They keep coming. They're like, you guys, we gotta go. We're getting a late start. And eventually go to set, day goes on. And towards the end of the day, we still had, more work to do. And I overhear a crew guy say, well, now I'm not gonna make it home for my daughter's game. And I went back to that stupid debate about something that doesn't matter, that I thought was more important than respecting everybody's time on set. And now this man is gonna miss his child's game. And I was like, never again. This will never happen to me, ever again. And so I don't tolerate it on my set. So part of that is also fighting for people to be respected financially. Like we have a production company. The battles I love are with business affairs. I'm gonna fight for my creatives to get paid. And at the end of the day, if it takes me cutting my fee to pay somebody else, I'll do it every time. Those are things that I learned from Issa. Like, no, you can go to battle with BA, because it's so much harder for them to tell the Black women that they have put in charge why another Black woman deserves less. And I was like, I can? And I'm like, what I think she should be, and they're like, okay. I'm like, okay, that's all it took? Like, oh shit, okay, so now I'm in everything. I'm in the trenches every time. I'm gonna swing for the fences. Shit, at least I'll get on base, get people paid, get people respected, make sure my writers are rising through the ranks. I can do this. I guess because I never really allowed myself to be that creative through most of my career, I'm just now starting to expand my ideas of what that even means. Today, I'm creating, prose. Tomorrow I could be diving into true crime, and all of it is possible and real and amazing. And I don't think I want to have a goal. I think I want to always be hungry and open and humble in my creativity, if that makes sense. I don't ever want to think that I've reached anywhere. I always want to feel like there's more, and there's more stories to be told, and there's more ideas.
It appears you have achieved something that I think almost all professionals would aspire towards. Your career has gone up and to the right, year over year. Every year is your biggest and your best year. What is the key to making that happen?
Therapy. Beginning the work of healing childhood trauma. Acknowledging and addressing how my PTSD shows up in all areas of my life. And also embracing vision boarding, which I thought was fucking corny. Years ago, when the big three came together for the Miami Heat, and Savannah James, LeBron James' wife, she organized this vision board thing. And I think the purpose was we were supposed to vision board for them, so we could get a championship. But very quickly we were like, fuck them. And it was all about what we wanted. And that first year, I remember putting a ring on my vision board, like a wedding ring. And then I got the wedding ring. And I still didn't feel fulfilled. And I was like, well, what more am I supposed to want? And it took me many more years of putting stuff on my damn vision board before I realized I don't need stuff. Stuff is not, it doesn't fill my soul. It doesn't make my soul sing. I want experiences. So I would lean into more words, phrases, pictures that kind of captured how I want to feel, you know? So like, well, this year we were doing our vision boards pretty close to each other. And I had cut out lavender. And it was like, I remember looking and I was like, I don't want to plant more lavender. It's just the feeling I get with the fucking lavender. I couldn't figure out why I had cut out the pyramids of Egypt. I've been. Of course, we'll be going to Cairo soon, you know, for one of our loved ones, watching them thrive. And I was like, subconsciously, I was including us all in my dreams. And I didn't even realize it. I feel like I'm thriving. I feel like my best self when I am covering everybody, when I'm including everybody on this ride, including everyone in my dreams. I've been also writing this blank check to myself, made out to the law of abundance, and I don't put an amount. And on the subject line, I write what I want. If for whatever opportunity that brings me money, what I want it to also bring. Peace, joy, grace, love, light, and passion, benevolence. Because I also realize the more I make, the more I can give. The more I give, the more I fucking keep receiving. And I put it in my wallet next to my money. And no cap, every year since I started writing the check, I've made more than I've ever made in my life. And last year, I made more by March than I had made in the previous year. I think there is power in claiming victory and then acting as if. Like it's coming. I know it's coming.